I have 20 devices in my house, 10 of which I have personal access to, from phones to computers to TVs to consoles. We have 20 devices in my household. So I'm over here thinking, no wonder why I can't get things done. No wonder why there are so many distractions. No wonder why there's just so many things to do, so many ways to quench the boredom. No wonder why I'm so kind of drawn into dopamine and drawn into that feeling of just, passing time. No wonder why I waste so much time on these devices, on these screens, because there's so many. They're there. They're so abundant. It's so abundantly clear that they're everywhere. And that is a big problem in today's world. That these devices, the things that kind of, aren't really important, video games, scrolling, watching YouTube, whatever it may be, it's so easy to fall into those things because, you know, they're everywhere. You're living in these devices, in these screens. And so no wonder why when you actually have to get something done, you can't. This is, it makes it so obvious and it makes so much sense to me. It's like, well, yeah, of course. Like yesterday, I went out for a run. I got home. My phone was being blown up with messages. My brother was playing a game that I really wanted to play with him. And my dad upstairs was watching a very funny movie. And I'm looking at all of these temptations and I'm like, no, it's like, it's late at night. I want to go to bed now, right? I had a late run. I already had to go for a run late because I'd wasted too much time in the day. So I was like, ugh, no wonder why. It was just, it was a revelation. It was kind of an epiphany for me right there. I'm like, no wonder why you can't get anything done. Because you got one thing here and one thing there and one thing there, and all of them kind of have the potential to suck you in and make you waste time. And it cuts into my sleep, which is super important, right? What I decided to do was to resist all temptations and go to sleep, which was super good. But the problem is, and the point of this episode is to say that, yeah, the distractions are everywhere. And that's why so many people have ADHD, so many people procrastinate. I think ADHD is like the highest that it's ever been. It's because of the scrolling constantly. It's a constant battle for your attention, and you're giving your attention to many different things. And as you shift your attention and you can't stay focused on a specific task, then you're slowly developing, the ADHD in your brain. You actually cannot focus, and you're kind of ruining your brain for the rest of your life because just constantly looking towards one thing and looking to another thing, and the temptation, you go and you do this thing, you go and do that thing, because it's all there and it's all trying to take your attention and steal it from you. And they want you to put it onto a screen to waste a lot of time, right? And there's always something to see nowadays. There's always something that you can do to quench your boredom, whether it be you go onto your phone and scroll, you go watch YouTube on your computer or something, or you go and you open up a console, play some video games, whether online or offline games, or you turn on your TV, watch some shows, watch a movie, whatever it may be, right? Netflix, there's so many shows on Netflix and Disney and Apple TV, and there's so many streaming platforms for this stuff. So of course you can't focus. Of course you can't focus on like the work you got to get done right now. And you kind of get sidetracked and you procrastinate, and obviously the ADHD, you can't get into that flow state of when you're doing your work. Of course, because everything's trying to steal your attention. And if you're not strong enough, you're going to let them have it, right? You're going to give your attention away to all of these things. And you're always shifting your attention. So that's a big problem we have in today's world, the screens. And it was important that I realized what was going on yesterday because, well, I'll say it first. I was wasting time, right? I wasted a few hours of my day because I fell into a rabbit hole. Let's just say that much. And it's not the first time I've done that. And I know that it's bad for me, but you just can't help it at some point because of the dopamine. And you get to a certain point in the day and you're like, "Oh yeah, I just want to quench that desire." And the TV is there looking right at you. Your phone is there looking right at you. These consoles, video games are looking right at you. And it's all just inviting you in, inviting you to waste that time, inviting you to procrastinate because, I don't know, because you want to go through the fun, or it makes you feel better, or the dopamine of it, right? So that's why ADHD is at its highest ever. That's why you can't actually focus on things anymore. And me, myself, I fall into those exact same problems myself. So that's why I'm kind of going to talk about it now. I'm going to share it with you in this episode of this podcast. Because it's just everywhere. It's everywhere. That's why I introed the podcast with what I did. I kind of was thinking about this yesterday. I'm like, yeah, there's 20 devices in my household, and I have access to 10 of them. I can at any point use 10 of them. The others are, my other family members' things that obviously I'm not going to be using. And of course, out of them all, the phone is inevitably, the leader of this devilish kind of cult, which is just entertainment and time wasting culture, I guess, whatever you want to call it. The phone is the chief. The phone is the leader of it all, because when I think about what I personally am drawn into, I actually haven't really played a lot of video games recently. I haven't really used my laptop, my computer for bad things. Like, I would use it for work. I'd use it for uploading these videos. But the phone continues to be the biggest problem. Even if I do better in these things. Like, I've deleted social medias. I I have like limits on my stuff, and I put as many measures in place to make my phone better, but just because of this like desire to quench that boredom, like I just naturally will fall into other things and find other things to waste the time instead of doing the work that I should be doing. So, I'm talking a lot about time wasting. I am an advocate for, enjoying your life, enjoying the time, spending some time to do things that, are fun, that you enjoy, that make you feel good when you're winding down from a difficult day. Like me personally, I'm the type of guy that appreciates some video games, that appreciates just watching like a very high quality YouTube video. Like, that's good. I appreciate it. Even if it's like about gaming and all that kind of stuff. It's not like, to me, I'm not so opposed to that stuff. But it's when you fall into the rabbit hole and then all of a sudden you've wasted hours and hours and hours. Either you're procrastinating from work you should be doing, or you're cutting into sleep. And like, I have friends that, they have to be in bed at 3 a.m. because they're not tired, because they've been so kind of accustomed to this style of living where you just go on your phone for many hours, and then finally you decide at 3 a.m. to go to sleep. You're just draining yourself. But it's so common. It's so common because the devices are everywhere. Because just the calling to you, like, come here, come here, man, watch this video, do this scrolling, play this game. It'll be fun. You can enjoy it. So I'm going to spend some time talking about what the difference is between fun versus just pure time wasting. What is the line? Where is the line drawn between when you're having fun and you're just enjoying yourself versus when it's becoming something that's eating into other things that you're meant to be doing? So fun, in my opinion, is when you have nothing else to actually do and you just want to wind down. You've done everything. You've spent your day kind of grinding. Whatever pursuit you're on, whatever work you had to get done, you did it all. You're good. You finished it. And you have a few hours at the end of your day. That's where I think fun is good. You have time to wind down. Or if you have like one specific day where you've planned things to do with friends and something like that. That's fun. That's good fun. You go out, you actually leave the house. You're not on screens, you're not inside. You're leaving the house. You're going to do good activities. That's fun. And in terms of fun with screens specifically, when you don't have anything else to do and you're drained, you want to wind down a little bit, that to me is okay. That is good. I think that is solid fun. You want to play some games because you want to have the fun. I think that's good. When it becomes time wasting is when it starts bleeding into other things you're supposed to be doing. So if you need to, for example, like reading, if you want to read, you want to catch up on your reading, but you just kind of fall into the, phone and scrolling. Again, I speak of these things because I do these very things, and I'm very certain that this is a very common thing. If you want to read, if you have, school homework to be done, other work, business pursuits you need to be done, you need to go do some physical training, you need to go to the gym, but you instead procrastinate. Or, let's say you're eating lunch and you're watching a video during lunch, and then one video becomes like 3 hours because you fell into that rabbit hole. It's common. I do it, and I'm guilty of these things, and that's why I speak of them. But I feel like it is such a common thing that many other people fall into. Perhaps you watching this, you understand what I'm coming at. That is where you're talking about time wasting. When you're doing it not necessarily because you actually want to have some fun, it's just because it's there and you're just so naturally inclined to falling into that rabbit hole, and then you're bleeding into other things you're supposed to be doing that are better for you to be doing during your day to make your days better. And instead you're wasting time on the screens, on the devices, the scrolling, the YouTube, the video games, and whatever other ways you waste time. That's why it's there, because there are so many different ways you can bleed into things you're supposed to be doing. So your focus and your attention is being taken away and being kind of scattered about to many different things. So no wonder why so many people can't focus. You can't focus for more than a little bit because of your ADHD that you've developed by constantly biting at the face of temptation, at the face of all of this dopamine that is out there. So to get stuff done, devices must be put away. Your parents probably tell you that, right? No device at the table, go outside, right? Like that's like such a common thing. Those like cliches are not actually going to, sit with you. What might sit with you, perhaps, I don't know, I'm just kind of giving an idea here, is if you were to say that every hour you waste, or every hour you spend on your phone is time wasted, where you're basically throwing your life away. That could be something that strikes people and impacts people more than just plainly saying, "Oh, you're not allowed to do this," or "No, go outside. Don't be on your screens. Don't be crammed in your basement all day." But really, you look at many different things with or without your phone. Let's just isolate the phone for now. But also it applies to many other things. Whatever thing you do that is kind of the most addicting to you. We'll start with the phone. In the gym. What's the difference in the gym if you have your phone with you versus if you leave your phone in the locker? For me, at least, this is why I'm talking about these things. For me, I find that I'm so much more efficient with my workout, and I push harder, and I'm able to focus and do things faster when I just leave my phone in the locker and I'm focused solely on, what I'm meant to do. I know you want to listen to music during the gym, sure. I mean, I guess that's fine. But what having the phone in your hand kind of means is like, I don't know, you get messages from friends and all of a sudden you're texting in between sets and you're wasting time, you're resting for too long, and then you're maybe, 1.5xing or doubling the time that you're in the gym, but you didn't really need to. So you're being really inefficient. You're taking too much rest time, which is bad, which is too much rest time is kind of bad for your gains. And if you don't, if you don't have the phone, you're just not distracted. You can actually focus on the task at hand, which is the workout. But if you have the phone, there are many different things. You're scrolling in between sets, whatever it is. It's taking your focus away from the task at hand, which is the workout. So putting your phone in the locker and just focusing on your workout, sure, you're sacrificing the music, but I don't really think, in my opinion, the music isn't really all that. You will be more efficient in the gym, and you will, push harder, and you will be able to get things done faster, which is a good thing because you're not wasting time. You're not kind of just dragging out the workout for longer than it needs to be because you spent time wasting it on your phone in between sets. Doing school homework, right? If you have your phone right next to you and you're doing work, you're never going to be in that flow state. The best way to get work done is you get yourself into, that habit of you just dedicate a couple of hours to it. You put your phone in another room and you focus solely on, the books, the papers, the homework, the questions that you need to answer. Focus solely on that. And, maybe it takes like 10 minutes for you to get into it. But once you get into it, if you have no other distractions in the room with you, you'll be able to just get into that flow state. You'll be able to actually get it done. And again, be efficient with it. Be efficient with your time. Whereas if you have the phone with you, there's always, you're going to get a notification. It's the same type of thing. You're getting a notification. You spend some time on it. Then you fall into scrolling. And then you're wasting time. You can't focus on it. You're breaking that line of focus. And when I talk about you're bleeding into the things you're supposed to be doing, that's exactly it. It just takes like one text message, right? I'd even say you can have the phone in the same room, leave it on Do Not Disturb. Even still, you're taking a risk. The best way is to just not have it in the room at all and focus solely on the task at hand. In this example, like school homework. But it just takes one text message to get you kind of back into it. The dopamine that is sent, to your brain when you get a message, then you have to, you're kind of I don't know, you're intrigued and propelled to respond to it when it really you don't have to. But you're responding to, you have to look at it, then you see it's a message, so you have to respond to it, and then you fall into other things, and that's just, how it sucks you in. It takes one small thing, and you're sucked in, and now you've lost your focus, you've lost your flow. Whereas you'll get your work done, and you will do it in a much better way, and you'll be a lot less frustrated, and you'll be able to actually understand problems and logically be able to solve them if you spend time just solely focusing on that rather than diverting your focus to many different things, which, you have work, and then you have your phone, and then you're kind of going back and forth. You can never actually stay completely focused and committed to what you're supposed to do, which is the school homework. The best way to do it, put the phone in another room, put it on silent, do not disturb, and just get into that flow state, and you'll be able to do it for a couple hours, no problem, because that's just how our brains work. Once you get into that mode, you'll be able to focus. But you're constantly changing your focus, and what these screens do is it just move your focus from one thing to another, and it becomes this addicting thing. That's where you start to develop those ADHD type of symptoms, where you can't actually stay focused on one thing. Whereas if you put your phone in another room while you're doing some work that you need to get done, you will get that work done. But if you keep it in there, you're only wasting, you're only increasing the chance that you're gonna waste even more time. And then all it takes is that you fall into one thing, and then you logically rationalize with yourself, saying, "Oh, I can do this tomorrow. It's okay. I'm on my phone right now." And then then the procrastination starts. When there's no distractions, it's so easy to get things done. When there's no distractions, procrastination isn't there. It doesn't exist. Procrastination is basically like an excuse. It's an excuse. You're basically making an excuse to say, "Oh, I'm watching this show," or "I'm gonna watch this YouTube video." And it's like, I might as well just keep going, right? And then, you're making an excuse to not do your work. Whereas if there's no device in your room and you're just stuck there, you have no excuse. You have to go and do it. So then you go and do it, and then you feel better because you actually got it done. And then you can enjoy the actual fun of whatever you want to be doing later that day because you got your work done. And as for reading, for example, when I read my Bible, because, Christian, religious, I believe in God, and I think the Bible is super important because of the teaching that is in it. But when I read it, I make sure my phone is not in the room because it's the same type of thing. Reading is also a thing. It doesn't have to be the Bible, but it can be any other book. The Bible specifically, because that's something so spiritually cleansing. But having a distraction in the room while you're trying to, spiritually cleanse yourself, it's the same thing. Just, you're also sacrificing your salvation based on just the dopamine of your phone and whatever other screens you're addicted to. But whether it's the Bible or any other type of book, if you're trying to read, you're not going to be able to focus, right? You should, if you're reading books, you should probably read for an hour a day. And that's a significant amount of time if you can't get into it. Because, I don't know, you read a little bit, then you go on your phone, or you feel bored. Maybe you feel bored by the reading because you've been so accustomed to the stimulation that comes from your phone. You're so bored of the reading. And it's then, but the reading is more beneficial to you than, especially if it's a useful book, self-help type of book, it's more beneficial to you than just scrolling and wasting your time and just doing whatever, whatever satisfying the cravings. So again, it's the same thing. You just put the devices in another room. Get yourself in the environment that allows you to focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on. Whether it is the reading or the schoolwork or the gym or the exercising, you need to create the environment that allows you to focus on that task. And once you are done the tasks of your day, then you can absolutely spend some time just enjoying yourself, satisfying those cravings, doing things that, are actually fun, that actually, but not necessarily fill you up, but actually, make you feel good and get you to wind down from a day that was hard because you decided to push and focus and get stuff done. But as for the conclusion to this entire episode, to this entire concept, the devices, the screens, the electronics, the video games, they're everywhere. It is everywhere. And it is always, always, always just trying to steal your attention. They're trying to steal what you can accomplish because they're trying to keep you sucked into garbage rather than focused on what you're supposed to be doing. So, in conclusion, when you're trying to do a task, when you need to go and do something, you know you have to do it, put your phone in another room, put your devices in another room, control the environment, control the culture of like specific areas. Maybe you make a specific working area. Maybe you make a specific no phone zone in your house. Whatever you need to do to get your work done, it'll make you, it'll make you kind of improve every single day. You will slowly start to rebuild your focus, rebuild your ability to concentrate on long tasks. And that's a very important and transferable skill in many different life situations, the ability to concentrate on long tasks. The fact, all of this is just short spurts of dopamine. And it's just all of this phone, whatever, like the phone, the electronics, the scrolling, the social media, all that. It's just quick spurts of dopamine, and you're constantly looking for more. You're constantly just searching and shifting your focus and doing different things. Constantly being in that state will destroy you in the long run. You'll never get anything done. But it's no wonder, because they are so prevalent in our lives. So do what you can to make them as less prevalent as possible, and balance your time so that you're able to do the work that you're meant to do for the day. And then when you're allowed to, when you're allowed to have fun at the end of your day, when you're able to just wind down and enjoy yourself, go out and do that. So that's what I'll say to that. Understand that, of course, if you can't focus on things, just understand that it's not all your fault, because it's the fact that it's just been perpetuated by this culture, the screens and all this stuff. Like, a phone should be perhaps, it should be something to call people, to text people, to take pictures. But no, now you have all of these other things. It's just noise in your head, and it's just the fight for your attention. So put your attention and your focus onto things that actually matter before you start to bite at the temptation of dopamine and the addictive nature of these devices, and create the environments to make work possible, to make productivity possible. Not just sitting there and just letting yourself scroll away. Be a little bit more strong, and a little bit more kind of just, well, strong is the word to describe it. Just be stronger and resist that temptation to waste time. Instead, focus on what you're meant to do, what you're supposed to be doing throughout the day. It helps to plan your days. It helps to look in the beginning of the day what you're supposed to be doing. And it helps even more so to put devices into another room and create the culture, the environment to get stuff done. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening in to this podcast. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow if you're watching on Spotify. Let me know what you thought of it. Leave a like, and I appreciate your support so far. I appreciate you if you made it this far in the episode. So thank you for being here. Just understand that every time you open your phone and you go onto Instagram and you start to scroll, you're just wasting potential. You're wasting your potential. And every hour you waste is your life wasted, and your potential for who you can be in the future wasted every time you spend time on this stuff. I understand. I'm absolutely with you because of the fact that they're everywhere. It's hard to resist. I get it. I understand. So have a little bit more strength. Cultivate that environment, and it is possible to get work done. It is possible to be productive and not procrastinate and hone your focus in onto the things that matter. But it takes time, and it takes you constantly resisting that temptation and creating the culture for something truly great.